What is up, YouTube family? It's Andrea here at VW Family Farm, and today I've got another canning video for you. I think I've pretty much showed you how I make everything that I make out of tomatoes: spaghetti sauce, salsa, canned tomatoes, juice, all those different things. Today is going to be the last video in tomato canning. I may show you some more canning as I have more things to can throughout the fall. I don't know. This may be the last canning video for a while because our garden is winding down. It's almost time for fall gardening. And I don't really can a lot with my fall garden. My fall garden is just to enjoy, to eat out of. That's just how I handle the fall garden. But today I want to show you how to make one of our favorite things. It is from an old-timey church cookbook. I'm not going to show it to you because you can't even get one. It's from a local church that they don't even have these anymore. But I'm going to give you the recipe out of it. It's called home canned tomato juice, but actually we call it V8 because it has vegetables juiced into it. It's like a super awesome version of store-bought V8. So you need to give this a try. It's so natural, just whole vegetables juiced into it. It's really good for you, full of goodness, and it's delicious. Just the way I use it in the evenings, if I just want something good to drink and I'm sick of drinking water or whatever, I'll just pour me a glass of this over ice, or if it's been in the fridge, I'll just pour it straight and drink it chilled. It's just really, really good. It changes up drinking your vegetables instead of always eating them. But it's nothing like store-bought V8. It's so much better. So let's get busy. I'm going to gather up the ingredients. It's pretty simple. I'm going to get them all together, show them to you, and we're going to get going. So I've got the supplies gathered, and isn't this apron cute? Gemini Homestead gave me this the first time I met her, so y'all go check her out. So let's get started. I've got the supplies gathered. This is really easy to do. It's not going to take us very long at all. Let me show you what I have that we're going to be working with. It's really just a few ingredients. You're going to need, the recipe calls for 2 medium carrots. These were pretty small, so I've used 3, but really you just need 2. 2 of the stalks of celery, 1 medium onion, and I'm going to have Lane type this recipe in the description so you'll have a written version of it. And then just 2 more things: a sweet pepper and a jalapeno. I wound up using a poblano and a jalapeno. You may be thinking, wow, that's going to be really hot. But our jalapenos this year are called Nadapenos from Baker Creek. We've loved them. They have the flavor of a jalapeno, but they are not hot at all, which I love. But for the purposes of this juice, I want to give it just a tad of heat. So I'm going to put one of these poblanos because these have done awesome. They're from Baker Creek, but they do have a tad of heat to them. Okay, so here's where you're going to have to do some measuring on your own. This recipe is going to make 2 gallons of V8, or 8 quarts, or 16 pints, however you want to say it. This juice, I'm going to estimate that it's going to come up to about a quart. I'm just estimating here. This is not an exact science. So I'm going to need to juice about 1 3/4 gallons tomatoes. So I can't tell you exactly how many tomatoes that is going to be. I am about to juice about almost a half bushel basket. It was not quite full of tomatoes, and I will let you know what that comes out to. That'll give you a good place to start. If you wind up with too much juice, you can always just can that as juice and not add this mixture to it. If you dilute this too much, your V8 is just not going to be as strong tasting of vegetables. It's just going to taste more plain like tomato juice. Either way is okay. You don't want to go too much over. Like, you don't want to do like a gallon of juice and this mixture, because when you start adding things like onions and celery and carrots and things like that into tomato juice, you're messing with the acidity of the juice and you're messing with the canning process. So to be safe, this recipe is for 8 quarts of juice total when you're finished. So try to make it come up to that as close as you can. Like I said, I'm going to juice, and I've showed you in my last video, I'm going to use a juicer. That you're going to pretty much have to have a juicer to juice these vegetables. But a lot of people, some will juice tomatoes through a juicer. Some will do it the old-fashioned way where you cook them and run them through some type of food mill or strainer after that. I'm going to run everything through this. But just like on the last video, remember when we run it through this, it's still going to be raw. So we're going to have to cook it. So first step, I'm going to get busy. I'm just going to run everything through this juicer. Yours will work accordingly to how your juicer works. But one thing, I've got a big pot over here. I've got some equipment ready. This is going to hold my scraps because this little compartment on my juicer is where all the seeds, skins, and trash pretty much goes. And then I'm going to put it in here and I'm going to compost that or feed it to an animal or whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's your vegetable juice. I got all those vegetables I showed you juiced. Now I'm going to start on tomatoes. That's maybe a quart, so I'm not going to go over 7 quarts of tomato juice. Like I said, I don't want to mess with the acidity too much. Okay, I got everything juiced. I've got it on the stove cooking. We're going to bring it up to a boil. Be careful so you don't scorch it on the bottom. And just bring it up to a mixture. If you're going to turn it up a little bit, make sure you're watching it and stirring it every few minutes. Around a half a bushel of tomatoes yielded about 5 quarts of juice, and then that looked about a quart of the vegetables that I juiced. So we're only at about 6 quarts, and this is an old-timey recipe. And if you have recipes from grandmas, great-grandmas, great-aunts, things like that, you know sometimes they're not super specific because a lot of times, especially in my family, people do things the way mama did them and they don't know why mama did them that way. And even I've tried to write down recipes like back when my grandma was alive and I had a very special great-aunt. I tried to write down some of their recipes and I'd question them like, well, what do you mean by such and such? And they'd say, I don't know, you just do it that way. That's just how women cooked. So this recipe, like I said, says it yields 8 quarts. So I'm just having to assume that I need to make it yield 8 quarts. Like I said a while ago, if I wasn't very clear, if I only had about 5 quarts of tomato juice and a quart of vegetables, and so that's only going to equal 6 instead of 8. Well, what I've skimped on is not the vegetables because I did the vegetables by what the recipe said, but the tomato juice. So now I've adjusted the acidity of the entire mixture. So to balance that out, you could juice your tomatoes first and then say you have say you only have a gallon of tomatoes, half the ingredients of the vegetables. Or you could add to each quart jar, you could add half a teaspoon of citric acid, which I'm not a super big fan of, or a couple tablespoons of lemon juice, bottled lemon juice that you know the acidity of. You could do either one of those things. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the recommendations out of the Ball Home Preserving Book, which is my go-to book, so that you can be sure of the acidity of that jar. So anyway, I'm going to bring this up to a boil, let it cook for about 15 minutes gently, because right now all those juices are raw, and then we'll be ready to proceed. Also, while this is cooking, it's a good time to get your hot water bath canner heating up. That way, when you get this boiling and jarred up and ready, it's ready to go, and you can almost start timing because it'll already be boiling. So I'm going to get that out, fill it up halfway, and get that heating up while this is going, just to save time. Okay, so it has finished cooking. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt to each quart. And then I'm just going to take this beautiful, wonderful juice and fill up each quart. I'm only wearing gloves because I am working in the kitchen like crazy. I've already chopped poblanos and got them in the dehydrator. Next is jalapeno cowboy candy, Emily's favorite. And so in lieu of the peppers, I'm wearing gloves, and I thought, I'll just keep them on. I hold over the pot to pour. It's a lot less messy. If any spills, it goes in the pot. You're going to want to leave about an inch of headspace, at least. And that is it. I'm going to go ahead and finish filling these, wipe the rims, and put the lid and ring on them. They're going in the water bath canner for 10 minutes. And that is all there is to V8. It's so simple and it's so good. I hope you give it a try. Like I said, this is the last of the canning videos for tomatoes, more than likely. I'll probably do some other stuff as things keep coming in. But really, the summer garden is winding down. We've started homeschool back. Fall is just around the corner. So I'm wrapping up canning. I've got some good things in the works for y'all. Coming up in just a few videos is the super secret, world famous Amish bread. The recipe I got from the friend I made in Amish country. I'm super excited to share that with y'all. I've made it twice and it has come out perfectly both times. Ben just eats a sandwich and is just like, wow, this is so good. I'm so thankful that she gave me her recipe, and I'm going to share it with y'all. Also, I've harvested my elderberries. I'm going to tell you 2 different ways that I preserve them, why, what you can do with them straight off the vine, and how to make syrup. If you want to go ahead and make syrup straight off the vine, you can. Just let me say, don't eat elderberries straight off the vine. You're going to be sick until you get them out of your system. If you've eaten them straight off the bush and didn't get sick, count yourself blessed, because they will make you sick until they are heated up. So I'm going to have an elderberry video coming up really, really soon, because it's time to start preparing for fall and school's back in. So colds and flus and all that are going to be going around, as they really never died down and still are going around from last year. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate all of you who support our channel by watching our videos. Some of you have been around from the beginning, and we thank you so much. We would have quit a long time ago if it wasn't for you guys, because this is all just stuff we do anyway, but we film it to put it out there and hopefully teach and help someone else. So thanks for watching. That means a lot to someone creating videos, just the fact that you take the time to watch and also leave a comment. So just thanks. I'll see you guys later, and God bless. So, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. You may wonder why this pot has moved over. Remember, it was over here a minute ago? You may be wondering, how can she be touching that? Because it's so hot. Because she said she was preheating it while she cooked the tomato juice. Well, guess what? You have to turn on the burner for it to preheat. That's right. I got ready to put the juice in this canner. This canner wasn't on.